on all of these baits, you don't want to overpower them. Everything is done with 4-pound test line. What we're doing, all done with 4. Yeah, fish on. See what we got going here. Feels like a good, that better gill. It's not a giant yet, but we're getting there. You know, just starting the morning off. This is a pretty nice one. Pretty darn nice one, huh? You're a gill fisherman, you gotta agree, right? Not a bad gill to start, huh? Look at that. Gills, one of the most sought after fish. Crappies first, then I guess bluegills on a national level fall into that category. I don't know anybody that doesn't like to catch gills and or crappies. And when the panfish are going, they're biting good. Got him. Ooh. Now, I'm on a big pot of them. I'll show them to you on the Mega Live. This one feels like a good one. Look at him. Twist and shout like a bluegill does. Just another gill. You know, the lake I'm on is a special reg lake for gills. And look at that. It's a beautiful fish. A special regulation lake, and you can only take 10 fish out of this lake. And they're trying to manage it to get better quality fish. And I think that's a great thing. We're seeing more and more and more game and fish departments all over the country start managing panfish from, I remember no limits, you know, you load the bucket, they're starting to say, wait a minute, you know, we can't sustain that kind of harvest and maintain our bigger fish. So many, many, many states, south along with up north, are managing the panfish population, simply realizing that this is a big, big resource. A lot of people like their crappie, their bluegill, their perch. Panfishing is big business. The lake that we're on's got really good populations of crappie and bluegill. And in our part of the world, bluegill in particularly like rocks, especially big bluegill. They're drawn to rocks. I don't know why. Maybe they like to eat little crayfish. I don't know. But they are drawn to rocks like this one. I mean, it's just crazy about rocks. This is another a really big one again. And now on the same lake, you got to go to the weeds. You got to go to the weeds to catch the crappie. Yeah, you know, so everywhere, again, it's just interesting. In these lakes up north for the bigger gills, yeah, you know, you need to have good rock in the lake to, it's like the magnet. The rocks are a magnet for the big gills. Shallow and deep. As the season goes on, they'll go to deeper rocks and you can go drop shot them with some finesse panfish baits or leeches if you really don't need the bait. I'm telling you, you don't need the bait the majority of the time. You can take an artificial and catch bluegills like this all the time, all season with some tweaking naturally. You know, I got a lot of different rods for a lot of different delivery systems, but when it comes to panfish, crappies, bluegills, perch, here's my #1 choice. Panfish rods, reels, and lines have made huge advancements in the past decade. Today, there's gear designed to be presentation specific for panfish, no different than bass or walleye. That said, there's one setup I find to be the most versatile. Beginning with the rod, it's a St. Croix Avid Panfish in a 7-foot length. Light power, extra fast action. It's the stick I pick up for swimming jigs, cork fishing, throwing tiny heart baits. It does it all. Additionally, I love the cork handle. Lastly, the material's SC3 Plus. In my opinion, the best value for the technology in Croix's lineup. It's lightweight, sensitive, and really balanced. Moving to the reel, it's the Daiwa Revros LT1000, a crazy light reel with Zion V frame for $60. The machined aluminum handle gives it the feel of a $200 reel. And of course, the drag on Daiwa spinning reels are second to none. Line is the final part of the system and not to be overlooked. We're using Suffolk's Revolve 6-pound test. It's basically the next generation of nano braid. It has an ultra-fine diameter, smooth finish that allows for throwing tiny baits a mile. I'm telling you, this is the ultimate all-around panfish setup. It is a bluegill. Big one, real big one. Boy, did that sucker pull. Holy mackerel. That's a pretty nice one.
Little beauty, little fat football.
Wow, holy smokes. Woo, never let me down when I need a monster.
That thing is so fat.
I think I'm gonna need a still shot for social media with that. Give me a still shot. You know, he doesn't have a snub nose yet, but he is certainly on his way to it. And that is, let's just see what I got going here. I'll reverse this thing, but you can see it. Just short of 9.5. A little light of 9.5. That's a nice gill. That's the top end, and I know in this lake, I'm hoping to get a 10-incher today. 9.5. Those are now, you know when you set the hook on them. This is that little Countdown Elite, and it came on the scene just recently. It has been an incredible fun bait for us to fish. You know, bluegills, crop, everything likes it. You throw it out, when you stop it, the bait shimmies like this. I mean, it has a unique action that only comes in a countdown. It's incredible. When it does this bait, when it does its shimmy, and goes right through that school of fish, they can't resist it. They got to bite it. Yeah, you know, it's like a wounded minnow in a school. They go to look, they got to pick it off the lot. Hey, let's catch up quick with Gord Ellis, writer, radio host, and professional fisherman in Canada, and find out what else besides panfish like the Countdown Elite.
That's right, Al. Panfish absolutely love the Countdown Elite, and so do trout. All kinds of trout. Steelhead, brown trout, lake trout, but my favorite is the brook trout. And here on the Nipigon River, where I am right now, the Countdown Elite is really one of the very best lures you can use when you are spinning for them. The Countdown Elite has a faster fall than the regular Countdown, about 1.5 feet per second. It's also slightly more slender, and it has a through wire construction, so I call it the RoboCop of balsa lures. It casts like a stone as well. And also when you're fishing in big current, this thing really gets down. But best of all, it looks like a real live minnow, or in the case of the fishery here on the Nipigon, smelt. So this gilded AU is about as close to a smelt as you're going to get. It is a fantastic lure for catching big brookies.
Yeah, here he is. I knew I was near him. Feels like a better one. Feels like a better one. I love the way they spin and shout, spin and shout, spin and shout. Not a bad one. Not a gigantic, you know, but not a bad one. You know, a little thing that's really important when you're throwing artificials on bluegills because of the size of their mouth, nip the barbs off. You know, on this Countdown Elite, you can see the hooks are real fine hooks, and a lot of them just bite on this back hook, naturally. And take the pliers, nip the barbs off so you don't rip their lips when you're releasing them. You're gonna catch a ton of fish on this thing. It's amazing how they know right where to bite. And it's so much fun. And there's such a major movement, I guess you'd call it a major movement, in the world of pan fishing. And we've been instrumental in moving this needle along for crappies and bluegills and you know, perch. to use a lot more artificials. And it's so much fun, and we're learning, man, you can catch them doing a whole lot of different artificial baits. And manufacturers are getting really, really fine-tuned in giving us baits for bluegills and perch and crappies, and that are really down to real tiny finesse baits. And it's been amazing to me to see the interest of how many people, when we post a panfish show online, all kind of response happens. So when we talk about perch and we talk about bluegills and we talk about crappies, man, oh man, do we get feedback. That's a good sign. Hey, people like their panfish. Ooh. Spinning like a top. Spinning like a top. Yeah, not a bad one. Not a bad one again. Can barely get my hand around them. Whoops. The hooks on this Countdown Elite are so amazing. Come on, I even got the barb on here. Elite is so amazing. What do you consider a good-sized bluegill by your statistics? Let me give you a little stats on bluegill fillets by size and the amount of meat you get off of them. I think you're going to find this really interesting. Here's the question. How many fish does it take to get 1 pound of bluegill fillets? Good question, right? It takes roughly 25 6-inchers, 15 7-inchers, 6 8-inchers, or 4 9-inchers to get 1 pound of fillets. So the message we're trying to convey when people critique these smaller bag limits is the fact that the more bigger fish you grow, the less fish you need to harvest for the same amount of meat. It's just that simple. I can't help but remember the Spider-Man series where they said, with great power comes responsibility. That reminds me a lot of today's electronics. Yeah, you know, we're so tuned in to how to find these fish so fast. And thank goodness we are. You know, part of this, we got to kind of manage these ourselves a little bit. We can't harvest the fish and pound them the way we used to, because we're sharing a resource with a lot more people. And there's nothing wrong with that. People like to eat fish, and you do that. But we can't, the good old days that some of you are thinking about right now, when you can just load the boat, there was no limits on anything, rah, rah, rah. Those days are over. We can't afford that luxury anymore. When I'm talking about technology, I got it all on my boat. I'm in a business. Spot lock on trolling motors, and this Quest trolling motor is silent. It's amazing. There's a time and a place for talons to lock down in a particular spot. Lake Master chips that show you every nook and cranny you can imagine. Naturally, there's 360 technology, side imaging, and more recently, forward-facing sonar. All of these things in my boat are linked together to make you more efficient on the water all the time. It just makes fishing more fun, but we need to be a little bit more responsible than ever before. Ooh, if that might be a giant gill. She's really pounding. Pretty nice one, pretty nice one. Doing her spinny topsy-turvy. Whoops. Get a hold of you. Without the barb, you can get them, you know, you can get them off pretty darn quickly. I thought that baby was bigger, but look at this, in comparison to my hand, they're pretty nice, pretty darn nice gills. You know, what is a trophy gill? In a trophy bluegill, what do you consider it to be? Most people that are avid anglers would say 10 inches, that's the benchmark. 10 inches that's big gills, really big gills. You know, bread and butter, you know, a lot of 8, you know, I believe if the stats are right, they said in our part of the world up north here, and they're about a year old for every length, for their length. So 8 inchers are 8 years old. You know, 10 inchers are 10 years old. hard to think when that's why harvesting that fish is so important, to know when to harvest, what size to harvest. You know, there's a time and a place for everything. You know, you fish down south in a lot of lakes, and the red ear sunfish, they get pretty big. And the biggest right now that I've ever seen in my life were on Lake Havasu in Arizona. In fact, I was in the bait shop, or just coming in, when they were weighing one, and it was the new record for red ear. It was like 5 pounds, something like that. And they broke it 1 or 2 more times after that. Genetically, that system out there, the Colorado River system, and especially Lake Havasu, is known to really produce some monster. My personal biggest out of there was a 3-4, you know, and I fished there a number of times. I got a 3-4, loads and loads of 1.5 to 2 pounders up in a river. A bonus, a bonus. I like, no matter where I fish, when I get bonus smallmouth bass, I like it. That's one of the beauties of throwing this little stuff. This Elite in particular, this is one of the newer finesse type of crankbaits that we've been using the last few years. But there's been a lot of them over the years that we've used, from phenomenal topwater fishing, a variety of different lake environments, different baits that we use in the hard bait and the soft bait area to consistently put more fish into both. There's a time for both of them, hard baits and soft baits. The right equipment in the hands of a young person, generally around about 10 years old, they can handle this with no problem whatsoever. Yeah, you know, and they don't, you know, if you're not getting a bite on the float, you know, even if you are, yeah, you know, after a half hour dinking around, changing bait, doing this and this, they get a little bit bored. Doing this, they're casting. And let's face it, the attention span of the younger generation is a little bit different than it used to be, you know, with all of the distractions that they have. So the main distraction you want to get them is something pulling on the end of their line, so they keep coming back for more. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna lift that one. Ooh, this is one of the bigger ones. One of the bigger ones of the day. Yeah, this baby, this is, whoops, I got myself hooked here. Those hooks are so, look at that baby, huh? That's what I came out here today for. Get a whole bunch of these, you throw these back, you grab a whole bunch of 8-inchers, and you keep them for dinner. Rah-rah bluegills. Such a beautiful fish. Okay, baby, go. You know, every day we make decisions that will impact our life tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, years from now. What we eat, where we go, do we exercise, do we take care of our body, do we seek wise counsel, am I feeding my body, my mind, my spirit man, keeping everything tuned up, ready to face the day, so I'm healthy, strong, and successful. Everybody wants to make wise decisions, decisions that'll help us in life to live simply a better life. My favorite book in the Bible is Proverbs, and it's written by Solomon, who is considered the wealthiest, smartest, wisest man that ever lived. You know, in my office over the years, I've got a library filled with self-help books. You know, lots of them. And I wanted to improve my lifestyle, my family lifestyle. A lot of it is religious programming. A lot of it is how you think and how to do business. Is wise counsel from very successful business people. And in my business, I'm fortunate enough to have meet and work with some people that are incredibly mighty men of God and so wise. Their businesses are hugely blessed, and in return, they bless the body of Christ. They give, they take care of people in need. It's amazing if you know how much some of these people give and what they do to contribute to the world that we live in. But that's a side note. And And you learn from somebody else. That's where wisdom comes from. But the Bible is filled with wisdom in the book of Proverbs. I can't say enough about picking up the book of Proverbs. You're looking for the answers to life. Any issue in life, I don't care what the question is, the book of Proverbs has something for you to glean out of it. And if you've never read it, I strongly suggest you open up the book of Proverbs and read it. And you want to know more about the Word of God, the power of God, and how to implement this book into your life, read the book of John in the Gospels. Go to the book of John after that, and then just kind of be led where to go from there. But I can't say enough of the reason I'm encouraging you to read Proverbs. It's all about life today. The things that we're dealing with today makes no difference what they are. Today, the world that we live in today. And it's amazing. This book was written thousands of years ago, and it applies. You read it and you say, it's today, it's now, it's real. Because it is real. It's the living Word. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, have a great fishing season. Gain as much knowledge as you can on the water to catch more fish and how to live a more fulfilled life. From all of us here at The Edge, have a good season. We'll see you on the water.
Closed captioning is provided by Smooth Moves, adjustable boat seat suspensions for a smoother ride. This segment is brought to you by Sunset Country, Ontario, Canada. You gotta come visit.
This boat is rigged up about as nice.
Easy to use, and it flat out works.
It's a must-have when you're talking about big waves. Well, these trout are so darn tough.
Incredible 11-year warranty.
So that was on a number 8 Shad Rap.
Your style of boat control is really key.
One that was there from the very beginning.
You want to be able to see in the water. The adventure begins.
We are loaded for bear. We got
There's so many different ways to fish for walleye. Dependability and efficiency.
Simple, fast, and easy.
The best rods on the planet. They like to eat when you're throwing the right thing.
You don't have all bluebird flat calm days.
Just a perfect eating size fish. See, that's what I'm talking about, these Daiwa drags.
We got walleye stuff, we got crappie stuff, we got pike stuff.